Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Gilmore with WPTV, an anchor here at the station, and this is another edition of Tax Tuesday. Lots of things to celebrate. Today, it's May the 4th. May the 4th to be with you. Also, a day before Cinco de Mayo. We're in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week as well. But another big thing, I don't know if you're excited about it or not, we are in the final stretch to May 15th, which is the new tax deadline from the IRS. And I know you guys have a lot of questions about it. Thank you for joining us during your lunch break. But we brought in an expert to help us with all the questions you might have regarding your returns and how to file or how to get your refund. Here with all that information, we have Chantel Brown from A-Class Tax Solutions, our in-house tax strategist and wealth strategist. Thank you again for joining us. This is, I don't know how many times you've done this, but it's a pleasure each time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. And for everyone watching, we are on Facebook Live right now. So that means we want to go ahead and take all your questions that you might have regarding your tax returns. We've had a lot of them throughout all of our Tax Tuesdays. We're going to see them pop up, and we're going to take all the relevant ones and answer them as best as we can. But right now, May 15th, that new tax deadline. And go ahead and just recap for everyone, Ms. Brown, why that deadline was extended.
Well, as we all know, 2020 was pretty difficult year for us just in general. But a lot of things happened in regards to individuals and businesses as it related to income. So the IRS, with all of the changes that was going on, the IRS realized that the best thing for them to do was to be able to extend the deadline, because there are some changes that just came into play as of March of this year, like right in the middle of the tax season. So they just decided to give us.
I want to correct myself before I get torn up in the comments. That deadline is
May 17th.
17th. I said 15th.
Correct.
I'm glad I have you here. May 7th. Yeah. Is that deadline. Okay. Right. And so the reason for that is why you were saying?
It's because of all of the changes that have happened due to our situation with COVID last year. There are some changes that actually happened to the tax code in the middle of the season. So after tax season actually began, there was a lot of things that changed. So they decided to go ahead and do an extension so that it gives, first of all, the IRS enough time to get everything implemented into their systems, as well as the taxpayers enough time to get all of their documents together and be able to file their return accurately and timely. So thus they gave us the extension until May the 17th.
Okay. The very first comment we got is from Ushi, saying that her boyfriend filed, and it's been 10 weeks now today. And we called the IRS and they told us not to do an amendment tax return, but what else can be taking so long for us to get our taxes back? This is one that we've heard a lot, you and I. And I was even looking into it on our newscast this morning, that they're still in the process of sending out some of those tax returns. I think another round of them are going out this week. But is there a reason to be alarmed if you filed up to 10 weeks ago, as is this case? And should you feel alarmed in any way, or what's the reason, you think?
So right now, there is really no expected reason, especially at this point, if you have not received any notification saying that there are anything's particular going on with your tax return. What I would say is, if there was unemployment on there and you filed prior to them making that adjustment with the $10,200 being non-taxable. Also, if there was marketplace insurance on there where you had to reconcile and you filed that prior to that change taking place, that could be a reason for the holdup, because they're asking us not to file amendments, and the IRS are going to make the corrections on their side to ensure that they're maximizing your refund. But at this point, it could just be bottleneck, because like I said, there have been so many changes to the code that affected us as well as the IRS. So at this point, like what we're being told whenever we call in is that to relate to our clients is we just have to be patient.
That's hard, especially when you know a lot of people are waiting on that money from those refunds. In terms of, you can go ahead and get that. In terms of the questions that we have,
I apologize.
uh, what about the people who need more time to file? Uh, I know that we are already in the middle of an extension, but for people who need more time to possibly file, what form should they be looking into?
So if you are not ready to file your taxes at this time, even as of May 17th, then you can go ahead and file Form 2848, which is going to give you an extension of time to file. That extension is generally 6 months. So 6 months from our original due date would be October the 15th is when that return would be due. But remember, when filing an extension, if you are anticipating owing the IRS, that form only provides you with extension of time to file, not extension of time to pay. So it is still expected that if you're going to be owing the IRS, that you're going to make an estimated tax payment with that form so that you're not penalized for paying late.
And I was just going to ask you, that answers my question. What are some of the reasons why some people might want to file an extension? And I think
Mhm.
I've seen in the comments before and the messages that we've got that some people want to delay what they think would be their payment date to the IRS. That doesn't.
Right. No, because there is no such thing as so they don't give you an extension of time to pay, only an extension of time to file. So I do always recommend that if you know that you're not going to be able to get everything together by that deadline and you are anticipating owing, is that you definitely file for the extension because it does kind of cut your penalty in half, if you will, for filing that extension. So you're not hit with an extension of time. You're not hit with a failure to file penalty in addition to a failure to pay penalty.
Gotcha. Okay, let's take this question from Wendy. She says, "Can your taxes still be filed if the 1099 has not been received from the unemployment office, but the amount is known?" I guess she's did good bookkeeping, which she should,
Mhm.
held on to those receipts. Is there any pertinent info that's needed off that form that is needed that would aid an issue with filing? So, are they going to ask any questions on your tax returns specific to that 1099 form? Or what you would
So
get from employment?
So if you're filing it electronically, the only additional information that you're going to need, Wendy, is the EIN number or the employer identification number, because that is going to be a requirement. But we've had clients who had not received their document, their 1099 from the unemployment, wasn't able to pull it online. So they called in and got a representative who provided them with the pertinent information, which is definitely going to be the EIN number, the address for the unemployment office, as well as your full amount and your withholdings if there was any. But you're definitely going to need the EIN number to file.
Okay. And I see Ushi following us up with her situation with her boyfriend. Uh, so boyfriend had used his unemployment when we did our taxes, and also we did prior to the new thing going into effect on
Mhm.
March 11th. So that can be making it late for us because we filed prior to them changing the unemployment for the 10200. What was that change that you was talking about on March 11th, Chantel?
So, and I'm not exactly sure of the date, but she's saying that it's March 11th. It's when the IRS decided that, or should I say, Congress decided that the first $10,000 of unemployment that was received would be not taxable on your federal tax return. So, what happened prior to that is a lot of people had already filed their taxes. And because they were taxed the full amount, it affected their refund. So they decided the first $10,200 is no longer taxable. And if you filed your taxes prior to that date, then you didn't need to file an amended return because they're going to fix it on their side. So Yushi is absolutely correct. That definitely could be what her holdup is.
Will you get that money refunded back to you that you were taxed on prior?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that may be what the issue is because in addition to the IRS trying to, keep up with the demand of the returns that are being processed now, they're also having to go back and manually make those adjustments for those returns that were filed prior to March 11th or prior to the change taking effect into the different tax softwares as well as the IRS system.
It's been a complicated year.
Absolutely.
Here's an interesting question that I'm sure comes up a lot, especially this year. This one's from Chris. He says he has no money to pay for tax preparations because he's broke. What are the options out
So the
there?
options are that there are VITA sites. So you can look into that is VITA. These are authorized volunteer sites by the IRS where they'll prepare your tax return at no cost for you as long as your income is up under a certain amount. And then there's always the online DIY sites that you can do, and you can always go to irs.gov, free, I think it's free tax file or free file, and it'll give you a list of all of the platforms in which you can go on and attempt to do your taxes yourself.
Okay, awesome. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and start asking Ms. Brown the questions that I have from her. Oh, WPTV sending us that link right there. So you guys can go ahead and follow that. We have our producers that are working for us. Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
But if you have any questions, come on, bring them up front and center. We're seeing the comments as they pop up, but I'm going to go ahead and pepper some questions that I know that we've all been asking around the newsroom for you, Ms. Brown. If I owe taxes and can't pay it all at once, what are the options for a payment plan? Does the IRS do that?
Absolutely. So if you have a balance with the IRS, if it's from the 2020 tax year, then you can always file an installment agreement form with your tax return, requesting an installment agreement. But however, if you've already filed your taxes and you have a balance due, then you can either call the IRS directly or go online and fill out the form for an installment agreement. And generally, they're pretty lenient on accepting those installment agreements. The thing with that is you have to just be careful because one of the things that you are agreeing to with that installment agreement is that moving forward, any taxes that may be due at the end of the year, that you're going to pay that in full and that you're going to stay current with your taxes.
Okay, so read the fine print for
Yes.
sure. This is one I think we've addressed a little bit, but you could just recap it from Ricky or Blicky. Sorry, real life Blicky. If you're on unemployment, what are your requirements? I know we just went over, and it's changed since we first started doing Tax Tuesday, as we mentioned with that March announcement that unemployment isn't necessarily taxable completely in its entirety anymore. What are the requirements for Mr. Blicky here?
So if we're speaking from a tax perspective, then it's just the first $10,000 that you receive in the year is non-taxable. Now, the thing with that is there has not, that was specifically pertaining to tax year 2020, right? But we do know that they extended the pandemic portion of the unemployment, which was still the additional, it went from the 600, but now it's still 300 if I'm not mistaken. But they have not yet said that that same 10,200 that was non-taxable for 2020 is going to be extended to 2021. So there's no guidance on that at this time. But for your 20, if you received it in 2020, then the first 10,200 is non-taxable.
Okay, Wendy has a quick follow-up comment from the last question we took about payment plans. Will IRS charge interest fees on those payment plans?
Absolutely. So there is a one-time setup fee for installment agreements, as well as it eliminates the penalties, but you still pay interest until that balance is paid in full.
So they're still going to want to get their money. So
right.
Don't worry about it.
Right. So I would look at it as if you had a loan, right? So if you take a loan out with any bank, they're going to charge you interest. The IRS is going to do the same thing.
Okay, this is a little bit more into Blicky's situation. He said he didn't receive that form you were talking about because he just started receiving unemployment.
Okay, so then, Blicky, it sounds to me like your question is not necessarily a tax question, but a direct unemployment question where you may want to contact them directly so that you can get the precise information that you're looking for as it fits to your circumstances.
Okay. Hope that answered your question, Blicky. Remember, guys, thank you again for joining us. This is a live question and answer here on WPTV, our Tax Tuesdays. The main point that we want to underscore, highlight, whatever you want to call it, is May 17th. May 17th. That is the new deadline to file your taxes. I know it's normally April 15th. I think that's where I got confused earlier. The deadline every year is April 15th. That's the date that's etched into all our heads, but there was an
Mhm.
extension this year due to pandemic reasons and the IRS needing more time to take care of all the different situations that people find themselves in. But it's keeping people like Ms. Brown here busy. She's been
Yes.
back several times since April 15th to go ahead and answer your questions. Make sure that we get all your questions and comments that you have in. I know a lot of people have not gotten their returns yet. The IRS is
Mhm.
aware of this. The Department of Unemployment is aware of this as well, as I know that's a situation that gets a lot of people caught up. But another question that we have from you, there's always going to be those people who wait until the last minute, till midnight on May
Yes.
16th or midnight on May 17th. What is your suggestions for those people,
So
or
I would
do you have
say
any advice for them?
So I would say it's if it is at all possible for you not to wait, right? Especially depending on if you have a little bit more difficult situation, because you want to make sure that your return is filed timely. And with all the changes that are going on, what you don't want to do is put yourself in a situation where you're trying to get your taxes filed, you have not filed an extension, and now you're going to get charged with a late penalty because they were not filed on time. So I would definitely say do everything you can within the next week or so and gather all of your documents and get them to your tax professional as soon as possible. And in the event that that may be a little difficult for you, go ahead and file an extension.
So just have it on the ready if you're getting
Right,
close to that day and you
right.
your documents all together. Okay. Also, some people prefer to mail in their taxes instead of e-file. What should they do to make sure that it's correctly mailed to the IRS? Because you don't want to be one of those people waiting until last minute,
Mhm.
it not arrive at the IRS in time. Or do they go off the postmarked date? Or how does that work?
So it does go off of the postmark date. So as long as it is postmarked before midnight on the tax filing deadline, which this year is going to be May 17th, then you're fine. But here's the thing. Something that we found out so years ago, Chris, and you may be too young for this, but years ago, the post office used to stay open. The main post office here locally used to stay open to midnight in order to make sure, that everyone who was filing or mailing their returns in was able to do that and it was able to be timely. They're not doing that anymore, right? So a couple years ago, we found that out because in our office, we had some returns last minute that needed to be mailed, and we weren't able to do that. So what I would say is don't wait to the last minute, right? Because there's so many things right now, so many different variables that can put you in a bad position by waiting to the last minute. So
Are there late
if you're
fees? Or does the IRS charge late fees if you don't file an extension and you do actually turn it in late, or will they just not accept it?
No, so they're gonna accept it, right? Because they want their money. So the late fee is going to happen in the event that you owe, right? So if you are owing the IRS, if you are anticipating owing the IRS, get your return filed as quickly as possible. If it is a return that has a refund anticipated, or you're going to get a refund, then there is no penalties, there is no fees. However, but if you owe the IRS, then absolutely, if your return is not filed timely, and if it's due on May 17th and you turn it in on May 18th, then yes, you do risk the possibility of getting late filing fees.
Don't be one of those people, everyone watching.
Mhm.
Okay. We have a comment from Allison. Thank you for commenting, Allison. She says she still has not received her refund, one of the thousands. I know. And she says, I know I need to amend my taxes due to a reclassification of dividends. Is there a deadline to file an amendment for it?
So there's not a deadline to file an amendment form per se. However, so my first thing is going to be definitely, Allison, my suggestion to you would be to wait until your original return process before you file an amendment. Otherwise, it is going to take a lot longer to do it. And as long as you do it within a 3-year period, you should be fine. Especially if you're going to be, if this reclassification is going to yield you a refund, you just want to do it within 3 years of the original due date.
All right. I hope that answers that question for you, Allison. Any other advice from you, Ms. Brown, about taxes? Any interesting sticky situations you found people getting into this tax season? I know it's been different.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we're finding right now is a lot of people still haven't gotten documents that they have been waiting on. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the mail, if maybe businesses have gone out of business. I'm not sure, but we still have a lot of our clients, and we're getting calls of clients of people who have not received all of their documents. So, what I would say that if that is you, if you fall into that place where you've not gotten everything, is that you go ahead and file an extension. So that way that way you're protected for the filing period. And then generally in around July, is when we're able to then go to the IRS and request transcripts of everything that was reported under a social security number. So that would give us enough time. If you file the extension, it gives you enough time to make sure that you are that you filed on time, right? Because that's what the extension does, and it protects you from getting penalized. But that's one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is people have not received all of their documents.
Okay. Here's another one because I know a lot of people were asking about it. This whole new thing, the child tax credit. When do those checks start rolling out? A lot of
Oh,
people want to know when they're going to get that money.
so the anticipated date for that, I believe, was July 15th. I do know that it's set to come out in July. With that, it is so just for clarification, the child tax credit extension is first of all is it is allowing full refund of the child tax credit, where before it was like 60%. It has extended it to $3,000 for children, I believe, over six, $3,600 for children below the age of six. And what's going to happen is you will be able to, from July to December, opt in to receiving those checks early. So you'll be able to get monthly checks per child. And I believe that they extended the age to 17, where it used to end at 16. So as of right now, the anticipated date for that is July.
Okay. Another big one. What are the tax scams that people should be looking out for? Are there ways that the IRS will versus will not contact you? What are some of
Okay.
the red flags?
Okay. So the first thing is if you call the IRS and you wanted to make a payment, they cannot take it. So if you were to call and say, Chris, you were the IRS and I'm calling you and I'm like, hey, Chris, I need to make a payment on my taxes. By law, you can't take that payment. With that being said, the IRS will never call you and ask you to make a payment or demand, because that's what's happening is your people are getting phone calls with demanding that they make a payment or a warrant is going to be issued for them. The IRS will never call you and demand a payment in that form because they cannot actually take a payment from you. The other thing is the IRS will never request that you make a payment with iTunes cards or Apple Pay or Zelle. The IRS, they're just not going to do that. If you owe the IRS, the only way that you can make that payment is by mailing it in or by going directly to the irs.gov, and they send you to the secured sites that you would use to make your payment via a credit card. So we're seeing that happen a lot. The IRS also, so will the IRS contact you? Yes, it is possible. Sometimes they will call you, and they will have a conversation with you. But they're not going to initially call you and say, hey, Chris, what's your social security number? I need you to verify your social security number with me. They're going to take other measures in order to make sure that they're speaking to the correct person, but without putting you in a position to where you're feeling uncomfortable or scammed.
Okay.
But I would say be careful because there are a lot of scams that are going on right now, especially what we're finding a lot of is as it relates to stimulus checks.
Speaking of, I see, and I don't want to make her feel like we forgot her, but Carolyn earlier says that she hadn't received her last stimulus, her most recent stimulus check as of yet. Why would that be for people to not get that? It's because it's been a while.
No. So anything, so at this point, it could be, and I'm not sure because we haven't looked into that. It could be that they're not processing stimulus checks at this point. And if that's the case, Carolyn, unfortunately, you are going to have to wait until you file your taxes in 2021 I'm sorry, your 2021 taxes in 2022 next year in order to claim that on your taxes. So what I would say is they do have the website that's still available. The where's my stimulus payment or where's my payment? I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's on the IRS website where you're still able to go in and enter your information exactly the way that it is on your tax return to see if they can provide you with the update that way.
Okay. Awesome. Guys, this is your last chance here to get your questions in. We don't want to take up too much of Ms. Brown's time, but she seems for now happy to answer all our questions. Go ahead and
Absolutely.
fire them off. I know that we're getting towards the end of our lunch break. Thank you so much for everyone who has interacted so far. But again, if there's one thing to take away, it's that big May 17th deadline. We've been doing these Tax Tuesdays for a while now, and we want to make sure that you not only get your returns in on time, but hopefully you get a refund on time as well. But that all hinges upon you making sure you get your documents in place. Uh, and if you don't have them all yet, as Ms. Brown mentioned, make sure you get those extension forms. So
Yes.
again, but until midnight on May 17th, that's when you can get a postmarked mail in. But I guess
Right.
you get to submit them electronically up until that time too. But
Absolutely.
you don't want to be one of those people that are left out or have the IRS calling you asking where your filings are. We have the
Right.
number there on your screen in case you have any question. I know that a lot of people's question has related to unemployment. We've put those resources up on our website for you as well if you want to contact the Department of Economic Opportunity to get questions that way. But right now, we're just going to take the last bit of questions and then let you go. This will be a topic that we are going to address again before taxes are due on May 17th. But let's go ahead and see what Rochelle has to say. She says she owes her 2020 taxes and her taxes have not been processed online yet. That's a long wait. So
Hmm.
what might be the reasons for that?
It could just again be bottlenecked.
Okay.
It could be bottleneck. And when you're saying they're not processed online yet, I would call, especially if you receive notifications showing that it was accepted, I would just give the IRS a call. But one of the things that you're going to want to make sure of is even if it's not processed yet, as long as you know the amount, you could still go on the IRS website, irs.gov, and make a payment ensuring that you are saying that that payment is for your 2020 tax return. And that's if you did not make the payment as you with your original filings.
Letting them know that you're at least aware that
Correct.
you owe.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, Miss Brown, while we still have you?
So I would just,
Obviously, they can reach
I'm,
out to you on your social media or on your website,
yeah.
Class Tax Solutions, if they have any follow up. But any last minute suggestions for people?
So my suggestion is going to be to you guys the same thing that I'm reaching out to all of my last minute filers of my clients is don't wait to the last minute. Because what we don't want to happen is we don't want the IRS system to get bottlenecked. And as you're trying to file your taxes, it's not going through. So you want to just make sure that again, get all of your documents together as quickly as you can between now and I would say the 16th so that you can make sure, first of all, that you are not waiting to the last minute and your tax professional is getting bombarded, with these requests to file taxes because there's only so many hours in a day. And we want to make sure that not only is your return filed timely, but it's filed accurately as well. So I would just say my last minute advice would be don't wait to the last minute.
Yeah, because the IRS is going to do a thorough job, but there's already a lot of people in line waiting for their return. So you're going
Absolutely.
to end up behind all those people the longer you wait.
Right. Right.
The time really is right now. There's no better time than right now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another edition of WPTV's Tax Tuesday. I had fun, as always, taking your comments and getting answers from Miss Brown. And I learned,
Yes.
it's still a crazy busy day for me, but that, yes, Jason got it right there on the bottom of the screen, that it is May 17th. If there's one thing you take away again, May 17th is that deadline. Be sure
Right.
to get it in. Call the IRS. Jason's reading my mind. If you have any questions right there, and you can always contact Ms. Brown as well or forward your questions here to WPTV, and we'll try and get them answered. If not in a news story, then on another edition of WPTV's Tax Tuesday. If you find out that you need more time than that May 17th date, you can file that 4868 form for an extension. The IRS won't be mad at you as long as you are aware of your options. So go ahead,
Right.
know your options, get them in, and as Ms. Brown said, don't be late. Don't procrastinate. Thank you guys for joining us again.
Thank you.